on average, you're going to get somewhere between 40% and 24% over the next decade, right? You're not going to get 40% because you're only going to get 40% for the next year, right? So let's say 30%. And, if I take 1.3, let's say 32%, 1.32 to the power 10, we get, we get 16x, right? So 16x is kind of what you roughly can expect in 10 years, just to say roughly $1 million Bitcoin.
Fred Krueger, a well-known crypto analyst and Bitcoin maximalist, holds a PhD in mathematics from Stanford University. He is a strong advocate of the Bitcoin power law, a theory that mathematically describes Bitcoin's historical price trends and highlights a significant correlation between time and price. As a mathematician, Fred regards the Bitcoin power law model as the most accurate framework for analyzing Bitcoin's price history and adoption, as well as forecasting future price movements. He has an extremely bullish outlook for Bitcoin, predicting it will reach a staggering $700,000 to $1 million over the next decade. Krueger recently reacted to a video of MicroStrategy Executive Chairman Michael Saylor's powerful speech at Bitcoin Prague 2024. In the video, which Krueger quotes in a Twitter post, Saylor says, "All your models will be destroyed. They don't really make sense anymore. If you understand Bitcoin, you realize you have to throw them all away. When Godzilla walks on the playground, all your models are worthless. They are all going to be destroyed." Saylor's comparison of Bitcoin with the fictional monster perfectly describes how disruptive the digital asset has been over the past 15 years. While Krueger acknowledges how disruptive and powerful Bitcoin has been and will continue to be, he counters that a model like the Bitcoin power law is still a great way to estimate how Bitcoin's price will grow over the next decades. In his post, Krueger also responds to Saylor's estimate that Bitcoin will grow at a 24% compounded annual growth rate, CAGR, over the next few years. The post reads, "You can definitely model Godzilla. He has been stomping around now for 15 years. Bitcoin will grow at 24% CAGR is, in fact, a rough model. The actual data says the following. The CAGR is closer to 44%. The CAGR is on a path to decrease to 34% within a decade, and 24% within 2. In a follow-up post, the Mathematician shares a chart of Bitcoin's compounded annual growth rate based on power law, 43.54%, 24.56%, and 17.09% for 2024, 2034, and 2044, respectively. In a recent video posted on his YouTube channel, Krueger shares further details of his predictions, emphasizing why he strongly believes the Bitcoin power law model remains very valid. As we bring you clips from the video, as well as more details from Saylor's powerful presentation at Bitcoin Prague, please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks, and enjoy the video. Would you like to invest in a platform that will help digital assets be the future? Yes, much like BlackRock of cryptocurrencies? Or let me ask you this. Can you invest safely in digital assets the way you do with stocks in a diversified way? With DeFi technologies, this has become a reality. Even though digital assets like cryptocurrencies are volatile, DeFi Technologies has created a platform where investors can invest in a diversified range of digital assets. In the same way as you invest in exchange-traded funds, which have a collection of different stocks for risk management, DeFi Technologies allows you to invest in a collection of digital assets with a single investment. But what should you do when you know about this? Invest in digital assets. DeFi Technologies is offering? Well, no. When you love a product, you should not buy it, but invest in its company. Already, DeFi Technologies has generated $93 million in revenues in the last 6 months. Out of this, $55 million is pure profits. And that's not it. The company knows it's shaping the future of digital assets, and therefore, it has started a buyback program. A $300 million company doing this reveals it's loaded with cash that it can use anytime. And this buyback will boost its stock price. Yet now the stock is undervalued because people don't know about it. And this gives you leverage, which is time sensitive. This platform is allowing you to turn risky digital assets into reliable and safe digital asset buckets, which is the future. Australia has just opened its Bitcoin ETF, And when Hong Kong did it, it had the largest cash inflows in one day yesterday. Yes, the world is choosing digital assets like cryptocurrencies, but only if they are made secure, which DeFi Technologies is doing. That's why CNBC just featured DeFi Technologies as a name investors should have eyes on. Remember, DeFi Technologies is being traded under the ticker DEFTF. Just 1 month ago, on May 10th, the stock was being traded at 60 cents, and today, its price is $1.6. That's a 162% increase in 1 month. In 1 year, the price has increased by 2,106%, from $0.060 to $1.6. You just need to understand that the stock is still highly undervalued. Just for an idea, see Coinbase price of $249.8, and it's only a crypto exchange. The point is, DeFi Technologies at $1.6 is highly unnatural, and the market will adjust the price, boosting it with time. Experts are projecting a price of $3 in the next 2 to 3 months, and $7 to $8, the price at which more people will know about the stock, and that would be the point where the price will shoot up. That's why Anthony Pompliano, one of the most famous investors in crypto, whose business is to make investments in the right asset, is a shareholder of DeFi Technologies. He has said DeFi Technologies is the stock he would pitch because of its high undervaluation and the services it offers. That says it all. Take advantage of this great opportunity by clicking on the link in the description to get started immediately.
Saylor, who I'm a big fan of Saylor, and I love his very inspirational videos. And he definitely helped in my onboarding of Bitcoin, although I was onboarded a little bit before him. He had this video in Prague where he's talking about, again, all your models are destroyed. And I can appreciate somewhat the video because what he's saying is, he's sort of saying that Bitcoin is kind of a game changer, right? So, if you looked at bows and arrows and then, chariots, and then all of a sudden you have like guns and nuclear weapons, you can't really extrapolate from bows and arrows and guns to nuclear weapons. There's no real kind of extrapolation there. And then he's sort of a little bit sort of saying, well, all these models with these statistics and time series, is just kind of a waste of time because it's changed so fundamentally. And then he goes on to say, well, I believe that Bitcoin is going to have a 24% CAGR, 24% compounded annual growth rate. But that's a model, right? And so where are you getting 24%? I mean, do you just put your finger in the air and say 24%? No, you're not. You're clearly looking at some data. You're extrapolating from that data. That data is a time series. You're not looking at before Bitcoin. You're looking at the 15-year history of Bitcoin, and you're coming up with a projection based on the time series. So I think all the power law is just a more rigorous way to look at that. And I'd like to single out Giovanni because Giovanni was the first person to observe this, and he observed it back in 2013. When one of his pals was saying, hey, I think this Bitcoin thing is kind of exponential. And he said, no, it's probably not exponential. It's probably more like a power function or a power law. It's not, this is the way these things are called. They're called power laws. And so what that means is that it is a power of time in log space. So you have to look at both Bitcoin price in log space and time in log space. And if you do, you'll see there's some very predictable behavior. If you do that and you get to a point where you can estimate the compounded annual growth rate, if you have a power function, and that means that Bitcoin price is a constant A times time to the power B, right? So the question is, what is B? Well, you can estimate B, and B is pretty solid. It's somewhere between 5.6 and 5.8, okay? Depending on sort of if you look at it in block time versus if you look at it in real time, et cetera. So let's just say 5.8 for the number, and that's kind of very similar to Giovanni's number. 5.6 would be more like Stephen Perrineau's number, I'm kind of coming right in the middle of those, but these are all the correct number. Now, if you look at the time at t+1 versus divided by the time at t, you'll notice that the factor a drops out, and you're only left with sort of t+1 to the power 6 divided by t to the power 6, and then t in this particular case is 15. So it's 15 years since the inception of Bitcoin. And so you get a power function, a CAGR of 43%, or between 43 and 45%. So right now, the power law says that the trend line is moving at somewhere between 43 and 45%.
During his presentation at Bitcoin Prague, Saylor predicts a staggering $8 million price tag for one Bitcoin at some point in the future. The MicroStrategy co-founder and executive chairman explained that everyone would get Bitcoin at the price they deserve, referencing a post he made on Twitter in 2013 when Bitcoin was trading at $892. Saylor noted that his skepticism at the time made him miss Bitcoin at less than $1,000, and he ended up buying in 2020 at $9,500 per coin. Similarly, the business executive predicts that millions will miss Bitcoin at $950,000, waiting for it to drop to $700,000, only to be taken completely by surprise when the cryptocurrency skyrockets to a staggering $8 million per coin. Such is Saylor's conviction in the leading cryptocurrency. His business intelligence and software firm recently announced an offering of $500 million in unsecured senior convertible notes to purchase Bitcoin. A day later, it increased the offer to $700 million. Let's get back to Kruger's video.
Now, this is going to slow down a lot. And if you look in 10 years in the future, it's going to slow down to 24%. And then if you look at 20 years in the future, it's going to slow down to 17%. Now again, if you look at it 10 years in the future, you get 24%. So you're kind of getting to the same kind of number that Saylor gets, right? Because Saylor's looking at 24% CAGR rate. He says it's conservative. And I'd agree that is pretty conservative, because if you're starting at a CAGR of 44% and you're going down to a CAGR of 24%, you're probably going to go, in general, more than 24%. And then that continues, that sort of CAGR drop continues. And in 20 years, it's going to only be 17%. But what I'd like to point out is that 24% CAGR is an 8x, right? So if you go, it's 8.5x. So if you go 1.24 to the power 10, you'll get 8.5, right? So a dollar in brings you to $8.5 out in 10 years. Now, if you can get, on average, you're going to get somewhere between 40% and 24% over the next decade, right? You're not going to get 40% because you're only going to get 40% for the next year, right? So let's say 30%. And, if I take 1.3, let's say 32%, 1.32 to the power 10. We get, we get 16x, right? So 16x is kind of what you roughly can expect in 10 years, just to say roughly $1 million Bitcoin. It's not complicated math. And, you can look at this thing again from 10 to 20 years, and you're going to get probably about 20% after that. So let's just look at that. For the next, so you're going to get 16x over the first 10 years, and you're going to get 6x over the next 10 years. So big jump, 16x over the next 10 years. Much smaller jump, even smaller than half. It's only 6x over the next 10 years. So, which is kind of what I've been saying too, which is really the time to be in Bitcoin is right now, right? Like we're in this kind of the time to be in Bitcoin was 10 years ago. But today is still a pretty good time. You're still getting this 40% IRR.
Unlike some Bitcoin and cryptocurrency investors, Kruger and Saylor are not worried about Bitcoin's recent price movements, nor do they share growing concerns that BlackRock and other Wall Street players are manipulating the leading cryptocurrency through the spot Bitcoin exchange-traded funds. Kruger remains undeterred and is optimistic about the ongoing bull market and the potential for higher Bitcoin prices before the market cycle ends in 2025. The Stanford University alumnus asserts that Bitcoin's recent price behavior is entirely normal for this stage of the cycle and dismisses any concerns of manipulation by BlackRock. Fred emphasizes that in past bull markets, Bitcoin has often experienced prolonged periods of inactivity before suddenly surging without clear reasons. Fred anticipates a similar pattern in 2024, particularly focusing on the September to November timeframe, which historically has seen higher Bitcoin prices during previous cycles. What are your thoughts on the Bitcoin power law model? Do you agree with Saylor that all models are dead? Please drop your replies, as well as your comments on Fred Krueger's analysis and predictions, in the comments section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.